So I've been playing a little bit more Red Dead Online the last week or so than normal. This weekend I'm going to go out of town for about 3 days. So I will lose my streak, which is, 150 days long. It's quite a long streak now, and I've been making pretty good gold on daily challenges. I will lose that streak this weekend because I'll be out of town and I'm not taking my PlayStation with me. And I will, even if I come back and immediately start to build it up again, I'll get it full right about the time that I go out of town again, so I'll lose it again. So I don't know how motivated I'm going to be to do that. Of course, a lot of this all depends on if and when the seasonal update finally comes out. But anyway, I've been playing a little bit more than normal, and I had some thoughts about Red Dead Online and Red Dead Redemption 2, and I know that Rockstar in many ways treats them as separate games, even though they're obviously built on the same engine. They feature the same world and a lot of the same code, obviously. And they do the same thing with GTA 5 and GTA Online. They treat those as two separate games that kind of are just built on the exact same platform and have a lot of other things in common as well. However, what really are the significant differences from the point of view of the customer? There's a lot of, and it's kind of unofficial, but there's a lot of data from some of these big YouTube channels that do Red Dead content, where they run polls and do other stuff like that. That seems to suggest that most people who play Red Dead Online do not engage with other players very much. They don't do much, if any, PvP. They don't posse up with people. They basically play it as a single-player game, and they just endure the fact that it's online rather than appreciate or enjoy the fact that it's online. And I should know, I'm one of those people too. I've never possed up with anybody, with the exception of the Land of Opportunity story missions where you kind of have to. I did do a few PvP events, mostly just to try them out, and I'm not saying that I hated them, because I didn't, but I found that there are other things that I enjoy doing with my time online than doing PvP. And running across other players is, quite honestly, more often an inconvenience, a frustration, an irritant than it is anything else. Either that or we just completely ignore each other and play the game as if we weren't both there, except that we kind of keep a wary eye on each other to see if one of us is going to turn out to be some kind of idiot griefer that just shoots the other one for no reason. And if they are, we don't enjoy that. It's, sure, we go resolve it in the way that a man resolves anything like that. You go kill the other guy a bunch, but you don't really want that. You don't care for it. So Red Dead Online, although it is an online game and it's designed to be done online and you're supposed to play with other people, and you watch these big YouTube channel guys and they do play with other people a lot. They posse up, they meet up with friends, they do weird things like, have fight clubs on top of buildings in Saint Denis, and, other bungee jumping off of bridges where they try to, catch each other with a lasso as they fall, and, weird stuff like that, just to entertain themselves online. Most people who play, and I'm talking 75-80% of those who play, report, and now this is self-selected, so I don't know that the data is good, but I suspect that it is because I've seen it in multiple polls on multiple users. They self-report that they don't really use the online features. In fact, they kind of wish that they weren't there and they could just play it as a single-player game. So this led me to think, what would I do if I were to take all the functionality of online, fold it into a DLC that you had to buy, because I know Rockstar wanted online to be a revenue generator. So what if you took all that functionality from online, had to buy it as a DLC for $25, $30, $40 even? That may be a bit much, but whatever. And you had to buy it, and then you would have kind of a single player add-on that that had all of the gameplay and functionality of Red Dead Online. You could build your own character instead of having to play as Arthur and John. You could run around across the entire map instead of the idiotic idea that they had to, not let us see the Red Dead 1 map until you were John. I thought that was a terrible idea, by the way. So you could just go all over the whole map. You would have the story missions and the roles, including the role missions. First off, you'd fold all the 4 roles that exist and all the other stuff. But then what else would you need for this DLC to make it worth getting in single player? So first off, I think, and this is what I would want to see, and other people may think other things, but I'm kind of talking about, because I play online as if it were a single player game, even though I don't play single player anymore. What I would want to see, if I were to have online folded into the single player DLC, I would want to see 2 stages. First off, give us everything that's online now. Give us the ability to make characters. Give us the ability to get all the online clothes. Give us the ability to set up crypts camps and use those instead of the John and Arthur camp. Give us the ability to go everywhere on the map. Give us all that kind of stuff. Give us the 4 roles: the moonshiner, the bounty hunter, the trader, and the collector, and put all that. So that is it. Apparently, that all has to go in. Now, here's what I think that we don't have. Either we don't have it on online now, but we do in single player, or vice versa, or we don't have it on either, but we should. This would kind of be the second part of the update. I think first off, it needs 4 new roles. We have 4 roles now, we need 4 new roles. And I've already talked before about what I think some interesting roles would be. Obviously, people want to do heists, similar to GTA. You got banks, you got trains, you got all kinds of things that you can heist in Red Dead. So that's, even though that's not necessarily one of the ones that I personally highly demand, part of that's because I never played GTA online, so I don't know what the heist missions are like, but people who do play them say, yeah, it's kind of absurd that we don't have this in Red Dead. So 1 role has to be some kind of outlaw. I think 1 role should be some kind of smuggler, and I've talked about this before, and as part of that, they should give us Mexico, the New Paradise section of the map. And it should be fully built up, fully textured. It should have fully functioning towns. Between New Paradise and New Austin, we should have everything that you need, so you don't have to run really far across the map to get stuff. So you should be able to get pretty much everything you want in the desert section. And by the desert section, I mean New Austin and New Paradise. They're both relatively small compared to some of the other states. Lemoyne is even smaller, but other than that, they're smaller than West Elizabeth. They're smaller than New Hanover. They're smaller than Amberino. Amberino doesn't have much going on in it, though, even though it's large. So I think that the 2 of them, Rockstar should think of them as kind of a single unit. There should be multiple ways to cross several bridges or fords, and you should be able to cross as part of your smuggler operation, where you run boats or something like that across the river from one landing place to another. And that could be sort of like making a delivery with moonshine or with the trader. Maybe not quite as big as the well, I'm used to doing the long distance trader, so they do it like a local trader mission or like a moonshine delivery, and that could be your smuggler stuff. Other than that, I don't really care what the other roles are. I think that there's some other things that would be interesting. I think some kind of supernatural hunter would be really kind of cool. There's an awful lot of supernatural elements in the game. They're mostly just little Easter eggs and teasers. They're not really supposed to mean anything, but what if they did? What if your character was like Van Helsing of the Old West, or Dean and Sam Winchester of the Supernatural TV show of the Old West? I think that would be a really cool role. And anyway, 4 new roles. I think all of the limited clothing, either stuff that's missable or stealable in single player, like some of the hats or the Pearson Scout jacket or some of that stuff, and anything that kind of comes and goes from the catalog, anything that is exclusive to a certain point, all of it should be made available to buy somewhere on the map at a reasonable price in dollars. In fact, I think the gold economy should just be gotten rid of entirely. Everything should just be cash, and you should just, do stuff to get cash, your treasure maps and stranger missions and any other missions. You should just all be just cash. Get rid of the gold economy entirely and put everything for sale. Now, I think that you want to kind of minimize how much money people can get. There are literally millionaires in Red Dead Online, people who play way too much, and it's really kind of retarded. I certainly am not one of those people, but I've also gotten to the point where I spend quite a bit of money. But if I had more to buy, I would do it. And if there were some kind of drip feed where once a month you'd get a few new items added to the catalogs, it doesn't have to be weekly like it is now, because that's and then stuff goes away because a lot of it's limited time. But if there were like a monthly drip feed where they just add a handful of new items, this month we've got a new hat, a new vest, a new coat, some new boots, some new pants. The next month maybe we've got some new accessories, another new hat, a new horse. I don't know, just something like that. I think also, when you set up your camp, especially if it's going to be single player, you should be able to pick not only the region you put it in, but you should be able to pick the specific campsite in the region and set it up there. I think it's a little bit frustrating that if I pick, say, tall trees, I get a random location from among the camp locations available in tall trees. If there are no other players, because it's now single player, then why can't I just pick exactly the one I want? I think that would be a really cool feature to have. Similarly, I think you should be able to start the game not just at your camp or at free roam, but you should be able to start it at any of your properties. And you should be able to start it at your Moonshine Shack, and Maggie's bedroom in the Moonshine Shack should be a wardrobe. I also think, for that matter, that you should be able to use any of the Moonshine Shacks. There's 5 of them? Let's see, Hennigan's Stead, Tall Trees, Grizzlies, up north of Emerald Ranch, and Bayou Noir. So yeah, there's 5 of them. There should probably be a 6th that they put maybe somewhere in Mexico or further out, like in Gaptooth Ridge. I think somewhere in New Paradise would be perfect, though. There should probably be a 6th, and you should be able to start the game at those. You should be able to own all 6 of those and have them be branches of your Moonshine Empire, if you will. And you should maybe be able to have batches cooking at any of them. Maybe you can even get rid of, not have Maggie and Marcel at every one of them, because quite honestly, you get sick and tired of talking to those two anyway. So I think that would be a cool addition to the game. I think, and I've said this before, there's a lot of stuff that they developed and then didn't use, which I think is ridiculous, that they didn't make it available because they developed it. The whole Tempest Rim region is a giant spot. It's literally in the map, and you can't get to it, except exploiting a glitch. Then you can get to it and you can see that it's actually all ready to go and ready to play. It's kind of absurd that you can't. There's also some stuff just off to the western edge of the West Grizzlies. There's an avalanche site, there's a crevasse through the glacier, and just some other kind of cool stuff that's fully textured and fully developed. You also should be able to use that. What else do you think we should get? Like I said, I think we should be able to have not just 10 stable stalls, but 10 stalls per stable. And I think every stable, you could have different horses in every stable. And yeah, sure, you might have to move around on the map to get access to all of your horses, but that's okay, because you could have tons of horses if you did that. I haven't counted up the stables in my head. Let's see, there's St. Denis, there's the one, Scarlet Meadows, there's the one by Van Horn, that's 3, there's one in Valentine, 4, there's one in Strawberry, 5, Blackwater, 6, Tumbleweed, 7, so there's 7 stables. There probably should be one in New Paradise, that would be 8. If you had 8, you get 10 stable stalls in each, you could have 80 stable stalls. You could have one of almost every horse in the game. And for people who really like horses, or for people who just want to have something to do, they could keep getting horses until they get 80 different horses. and then they have to bond them, and they have to buy saddles for them, and they have to get all the other, they have to buy lamps for their saddles, and saddlebags for their saddles, and stirrups for their saddles. And, granted, that's not maybe the hugest deal in the world, but, that's a big money sink too. And I think one of the things that Red Dead Online does fairly well is that it is a good money sink. And I think only the people who kind of exploit glitches and do it obsessively and play for just hours and hours and hours a day really kind of make lots of money. I make decent money, but I spend it as fast as I make it. The people who just are sitting on $100,000, $1 million, which some people do, it's absurd. They don't play like normal people, and their experience should be discounted when talking about what to do with the game, because they don't play like normal people. So I think it's good to have money sinks. It's good to have things to spend money on. It's good if they're expensive enough that you can't just go do it super fast. It was kind of fun when you got to be John and you did the last mission and you got $20,000 and you could go buy everything that you ever wanted in the game and you still had tons of money. Yeah, sure, that was kind of cool. But I kind of like the experience a little more in online, where you make money, but then you go spend it, and then there's stuff you still want, so you kind of you have this reason to keep coming back and doing it. And if they do the economy right, then you can't really spend money so fast. Unless you're just a crazy obsessive person who, like I said, there's such an outlier that their experience should be thrown out in terms of determining what normal play is like. This DLC could last for months, and then they could have another one that added 4 new roles and maybe even a new area of the map that I don't even know what it would be now. Maybe, the other side of the river from Saint Denis, or the other side of the river across from Van Horn and Ansburg, or maybe up north of the waterfall at the top of Roanoke Ridge, or I don't know, some other place. There's a lot of places where there's terrain that's developed but not 100% textured that they could do something with. So I think they could do another DLC with 4 new roles and then a whole bunch of other new content, and I would buy it again. This is a way that you could earn money, and you could do it by combining the best aspects of Red Dead Redemption 2 and Red Dead Online. And it would really, I think, cater to the majority of the market, because the majority of the market does not play online in posses or play a ton of PvP. They maybe dabble in some of that stuff here and there, but mostly the majority of people who play Red Dead Online, again, if this data is to be trusted, and I think it is, most of them play it as if it were a single player game anyway, and all of the online elements that they have to deal with, they would rather not. So I know that that's not Rockstar's business model that they hoped for, but then again, I think Red Dead Online is doing exactly what they kind of thought it would anyway, and a lot of it's their fault because they have left us high and dry. They haven't developed it very quickly. They haven't developed it very well. We kind of have a shoddy product, quite honestly, that hasn't seen an update in a long time, and it's a little embarrassing compared to GTA, so it's not surprising that it never developed like GTA Online. But I think it has the opportunity to be something pretty cool, and it has the opportunity to be a decent profit center for Rockstar if they treat it right. Anyway, that's what I would like to see. That, I think, would be perfect. And there's, a few other little pet peeves, like when we create our characters, give us Arthur and John's build, for crying out loud. I'm sick and tired of only being able to create skinny or fat characters. My character's the athletic build, but he's not athletic like a fighter. He's athletic like a runner. And he looks like the kind of guy who would, go run the Boston Marathon. He doesn't look like the kind of guy who would get into a fist fight with a bunch of guys in Saint Denis pub. So it's, I don't know, that's just a real pet peeve of mine. Give us all the material that's available in both online and single player. I'm really frustrated, for example, that I can't get some of my favorite clothes in online and single player and vice versa. I'm really frustrated that I can't get to Mexico and Tempest Rim and the other glacier areas because the stuff is there. It's right there. Mexico, in fact, should have been a no-brainer because it was in the first game. I think everybody kind of expected it. Everybody expected that eventually it would be some kind of DLC or download. And everybody's, I think, I don't know, maybe by now they've kind of written it off, but I think they were kind of frustrated that we never got it. It didn't make sense. Why didn't we ever get Mexico? Now, granted, maybe there's a long time yet that this game's going to be around, but I kind of have my doubts that it's going to be the way it is now. I have it on the PS4. The PS5 obviously was just announced. How long are they going to support a PS4 version of the game when PS5 is out? I really don't want to upgrade to a PS5. I really have no interest in doing that. I want something that I can play on my PS4, that it doesn't have to be online, so I don't have to count on other people's servers. Maybe, though, you could have the opportunity to create a virtual LAN of sorts between, you know, different people's PlayStations or Xboxes or whatever the case may be, where you could posse up and get online to do certain things, but you would have to, you know, communicate with them offline somehow. They have to be people that you know, and you get their ISP or you get, you know, whatever. You find them and just kind of create like a personal virtual LAN with them. That I think would work, but I don't know. I think the trend of everybody thinks online is the way to go because it's kind of sexy, and there's a revenue stream where you try to do microtransactions and et cetera, et cetera. In my experience, from the games that I like to play, and granted, I'm not a huge gamer, so we're talking about, you know, for example, Red Dead Redemption 2, Star Wars Old Republic, some other stuff like that. People do play it online, but they really kind of wish that it wasn't online, and they think that that was just a cynical cash grab by the company to make it that kind of game in the first place, when what they really want is just a really good single-player game that they can play for a long time. They could get, you know, downloadable updates here and there, but that it's good enough that even if they, you know, they don't get tons and tons of updates, there's still plenty to keep them busy for a long time. So that's what I think. That's what I think we should do for Red Dead. I think we should combine the two, Red Dead Online, Red Dead Redemption 2, make it a purchasable DLC. I would be willing to spend real money for this, and then have, you know, subsequent additions, and I would spend real money for them too, assuming that they did a decent job. Now, all of this assumes, of course, that they do a decent job. They can't release what we have now, which is full of bugs, full of glitches, full of stuff that doesn't work. They've gradually fixed some things, but you know, there's a lot of things that still don't work the way they're supposed to. But, you know, single player works really well, so I don't think that that would be a problem. As long as we don't have to get online, I think that's part of the problem. Anyway, I'll come back next time with some more outfits. In the meantime, hope you enjoyed these videos. I did a stealth bootlegger mission where I killed everybody without alerting anybody, which is kind of fun. I haven't done that very often. And then I've got also in here the rescue of a buyer, something that was a little irritated when it popped up and I was kind of in the middle of something and I had to run all the way from Bard's Crossing up to top of Mount Hagen, so I didn't really want to do it, but then after I did, I was like, hey, that was kind of cool. And then I've also got an older video of me fighting off a gang hideout at Gap Tooth Ridge. So when I come back, I've got 3 more outfits, and then got some other stuff after that. I got a lot more outfits to go. We'll be getting close to the greatest hits of outfits soon. I have, in addition to the 3 that I'm going to show in my next video, I've got 9 saved for my character right now, 3 sets of 3. So I'm not quite ready, and then even then there's probably a little bit more that I might do before I do the greatest hits. But anyway, I'm excited to show those when I've got the videos made. We'll talk to you next time.